If the question is whether or not there have been massive people leaving the office, as I said at the beginning, there haven't been massive people leaving the office. If you really look at the figures, if you compare my office for the 3 years that I've been here, which is a new time and new changes being brought into the office and new leadership, we've not lost that many people. Less than 10% of our workforce is actually left. So it's not true that there have been massive turnover. And as I pointed out early on at the beginning, we've only lost an average of 5 lawyers per year compared to the average for my predecessor of about 3.5 per year. So that's not massive changes in terms of personnel in the office. Now, in terms of lawsuits, a lawsuit is only as good as the evidence that's included in the lawsuit and whether or not the lawsuit is won. At this point, no lawsuit has been won in terms of any lawsuits that have been filed against me or the district attorney's office. Additionally, anybody who's involved in an organization that's a multi-million-dollar organization and that has 130-something employees or better, lawsuits or EEOC complaints are filed regularly throughout this community. You can look in the newspaper just this week and see that another suit has been filed against a popular figure here in Chatham County. That doesn't necessarily mean that that person who's filed the suit is entitled to any recovery or has even not filed a frivolous lawsuit. So filing of lawsuits is just a part of business. When I was university counsel at Savannah State University, we had EEOC complaints and lawsuits that were filed, and most of them were unfounded. But that's the reality that we live in this day and time. And so anybody who steps foot into this office has to be prepared as to how to handle those lawsuits. And we need to put people in office who have the experience with dealing with personnel matters and issues and who can handle those attacks when they come. And I submit to you that I am the person who has the experience in dealing with that, and I can handle it. I would say that there are plenty of facts. One of the important things that I've done since I've been district attorney, for the first time ever in the history of the district attorney's office here in Chatham County, you get annual reports about the performance of the district attorney's office, what we do, how we're performing, the cases that we're winning, the cases that we're not winning. And I defy you to look at the statistics and the performance that we've done to say that I have not performed well or that I'm not deserving to go back into the office. I would tell you to tell the people to look at the facts and not the rhetoric, and they'll determine that our office is one of the best performing district attorney's offices in the southeastern part of the United States.
You know, sometimes people think where there's smoke, there's fire. So what's your response to that?
Although I cannot comment about the specifics of cases because that's, number one, inappropriate, and number two, by law, I'm precluded from talking about those cases specifically. What I would ask people to look at is what are political tactics that are used as far as incumbent candidates are concerned, and look at the parties who are involved in those lawsuits and look at the connections that they may or may not have as far as the office is concerned, and make a determination about whether or not those are independent lawsuits or whether or not they're politically motivated.
So are you asserting they are politically motivated?
I'm suggesting that since you're raising the question and you're part of the media and you have the opportunity to do open records requests and to look at the information yourself, I invite you to look at that information and make a determination about it.
Right.
All right.
Well, the reason that I'm seeking re-election, well, obviously I believe that I've done a really good job and I've delivered on the promises that I made when I went into office in terms of creating more efficiencies within the office, making the office perform a little bit better, making the office a little bit more public and transparent as far as the community is concerned and accessible to the community. When I started in the office, for example, there was no interactive website whereby people could communicate with the office after hours and get information about the criminal justice system or their cases after hours, and we now have been able to do that. We've also now adopted a system of annual reports where we report out statistically what we're doing in the offices, how our cases are moving, how our cases, the outcomes of those cases. So the reason why I'm running, because I think I've essentially done a good job, and I think that when you compare my office over the last 3 years over the office that I found when I got here, my office is substantially outperforming the prior office, and so I think that I am entitled to another 4 years based on doing what I told the citizens in Chatham County I would do. I think it's not a truthful representation of what goes on in my office and district attorney's offices, not only in Georgia but throughout the country. In most of the larger cities, district attorney's offices always have high turnover. Um, I did an analysis of my office now and 12 years before I got here. There was an average turnover rate of lawyers in the office of 3.5 per year before I came into office, and since I've come into office, it's been a turnover of 5 lawyers per year. That's not a significant difference when you consider the fact that we have 36 lawyers within the office. And then when you look at that in terms of experience, the average years of experience of the lawyers in the 12 years before I came into office was 16.17. And the average years of experience right now is a little over 15 years. So there's very little difference in terms of the overall character of the office, and the turnover doesn't make that much of a difference when the office is continuing to perform in a way that's better than it's performed before. Some of the lawyers actually who left my office went to the jurisdiction that's just below here. And so in order for those lawyers to be able to go to that particular jurisdiction, there had to be vacancies. And so what I'm suggesting to you is that that's characteristic of district attorneys' offices all over the country, and our numbers are not that significantly different, especially when you look at the fact that I came in replacing a 28-year incumbent with change on my mind, new policies, new ways of doing things, and people don't like change. And so you would expect a certain amount of turnover when new policies are being initiated and new folk are coming into an office.
And you do have these lawsuits that have been filed. What, if anything, can you say about these allegations? Are you...
Nothing. I can say nothing about those because it's not ethically correct and professionally responsible for me to make any comments about any sort of pending lawsuits, particularly in federal court, because there are laws or there are rules that the federal judges have about making comments about pending litigation, and I'm not about to violate those rules.
Is it frustrating to you that you can't say more?
Oh, it's very frustrating, but I understand the reality of how these things work, and one of the things that the citizens of the community get with me as district attorney is somebody who's very responsible and judicious in terms of the comments that he makes, and always is concerned about the impact of the statements that he makes in our community. One of the things, I've faced some very controversial cases and issues since I've been in the office, and I think the community has been very satisfied with the fact that I've not made incendiary comments, and I've been very thoughtful about how I've handled those cases, and I continue to believe that that's the tack to take even in cases that are involving me.
Are you willing to say the allegations are not true?
I can't make any comments about the substance of any of those cases, but I would invite members of the media like yourself to really take a good look at the evidence that's out there and the facts that have been collected and the records that are available to the public. For example, when the media has looked at some of those issues, they looked at some of the early filings, but they didn't look at any of the responses that came from both Chatham County and counsel for me. And some of those documents are available to the public, and they tell a much different story, or it gives a better perspective perhaps on some of the things that actually have happened as far as those allegations are concerned.
Can you make any statements about some of the things that they have asserted regarding your personal affiliations,
No.
your personal life?
No.
Okay. Do you want to?
No. I think what's really important right now is that we continue to focus on the performance of the district attorney's office under my hand, and how it will perform in the next 4 years under my hand, as compared to some of the people who are significantly less experienced than I, who are expecting to run for the office. I think that's what the citizens of the community are interested in, and I think that's the information that I need to continue to keep in front of the press as well as the citizens of this community, so that they can make an informed decision about my ability to perform as district attorney here in Chatham County, especially as it compares to the other people who are potentially running for my position.